Welcome back, MMAOddsBreaker. Today, of course, it's Dan Henderson. Get ready to fight Vitor Belfort, UFC Fight Night 77. We were just talking about how much the sport's kind of changed in the last, not even 5 years, really. The sports, from the whole aspect, not only athletes, but from the business sense, too. Like, everything's gotten different.
Yeah, it's gotten quite a bit different, but, you got to change with the times, I guess.
You don't have to. I mean, you could. Well, I guess I don't mean you don't have to. I guess the problem is that the people that are setting how the pace of or setting how the sport is changing are forcing everyone else to follow the same suit. Like it's not just changing on its own, like organically. It's being forced to change.
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
So let's talk about from a sponsorship standpoint from you. How are sponsorship dollars before the Reebok deal as compared to how they were, 5-6 years ago?
Well, 5-6 years ago, they're quite a bit better than they are now, and obviously, none of the fighters are happy about the Reebok deal anyway. So, but 5 or 6 years ago, before the UFC started charging companies to be able to sponsor guys, it was guys were able to supplement their income and take less for fight purses, but be able to do it still because of the sponsorship.
So now, but does the Reebok deal hurt you that much? Because this is your first fight into the new Reebok banner. Is this really going to hurt you that much, at least from a sponsorship side of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely going to be less, but I've kind of the sponsorships kind of have cut way back anyway because there's less competition. So I've turned down a lot of lower offers over the last few years. So I just haven't worried about it too much and done my own thing and sold my own shirt and did pretty well with it. So.
Now, what about from the gym standpoint, from like 5-6 years ago? Like, how's your personal gym doing? Is it increased? Has it gotten better? You gotten a lot more crazy people coming in. I mean, because the explosion now, the marketing of MMA as a whole has gone through the roof as well.
I had changed my gym and moved to a different location anyway, so I'm much bigger and have a much broader spectrum of things we do in there. So it's hard to tell for sure, but since I opened 2 years ago, the new gym, and it's been a slow but steady rise. Every month we do much better than the previous month, and just been growing steady, slowly but steady.
So what about training habits? I mean, you're obviously older, so you have to change up your training as well, but also too, it seems like as a whole, MMA's finally got a little bit more scientific about how they train. What's it like now compared to like 3 or 4 years ago in training?
I've been doing the same type of things, but having to cut back on certain things to be able to recover as I get older and start training smarter. But I've been doing that for a while. I've been doing the same, monitoring my heart rate and things for the last 5 years. So, it's definitely something that a lot more people are doing and getting a little bit more scientific with it. But the bottom line is you still got to train to fight and to do well in a fight.
Well, let's talk about Vitor. Obviously, things have changed for him now with the new drug testing policy and, in competition, out of competition. Like, the UFC's really gotten jumped on board on that. And, of course, he's one of the main guys that gets brought up every time there's a steroid problem because he's been caught before in the past. And, of course, he early in his career, he's fought at such a heavier weight. What's it going to be like for a guy like him? Because we've already started to see a little bit of body types change as some guys are coming and making weight. And you're like, wow, a year ago, this guy looked totally different than he does now, at the same weight class. Like, what do you think it's going to be like for Vitor now that's so stringent on him?
Yeah, I think he's one of the guys that his body looks a lot different than it did a year ago. But, I just heard today that, they've been drug testing us a little bit more now than they used to with the whole, the new USADA deal. But I just heard today that he wasn't drug tested the last time I was. So, if anybody needs to be drug tested more than anyone else, it would be him. And
So you heard? Hold on, let me make sure I understand this. So you heard today that you got drug tested for your fight, but he didn't get drug tested for the fight.
the last round, he got drug tested as well as I did about a month and a half ago. And then about 2, 3 weeks ago, I got tested again. I guess he didn't get tested.
No, well, I guess it's random,
An article about it that I haven't read yet.
Okay. To me that's a little weird, but I also understand like they can't go, oh hey, Henderson's getting tested today, so I must be getting tested too, kind of thing. I get that, but it doesn't be the same day, but it should be within the same week, if it coming in. But I don't know. It's still a work in progress. This whole drug testing thing is still being figured out and worked out. I mean, obviously Nick Diaz's ban is way too much at 5 years, but they're still trying to filter their way through it. Like even with the street and recreational drugs, they're still trying to figure their way around what's the real ban's going to be, what the real fines are going to be, and things like that.
Yeah, I think on that note, it should be, the penalties should go nationwide or worldwide, I should say. Uh, for certain instances, that it needs to be across the board throughout MMA, not just in one state and differ in another. Because in California, I'm sure Nick Diaz would have had a lot lesser of a sentence, but it's at the same time it was his third offense.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, well, the thing is though, my only thing is that the new rules are supposed to be coming in a third time offense is supposed to be a 3 year ban, not a 5 year ban. So I'm just trying to figure out and I'm trying to understand why the commission got the 5 years. I don't understand how they jumped the extra 2 years into it. And they approved these other regulations. They're just not fully enforced yet, and they haven't picked a date of when they're going to come in.
I'm sure. I'm sure they didn't let during the whole also.
Yeah, him pleading the fifth the entire time and not cooperating so much with the process definitely hurt for sure. So let's talk about Vitor. Now his body type has changed. What else has changed about him that you can tell before the fight? I'm sure everything else is similar. You never know mentally with him, but technically he's the same fighter, and just a matter of finding out what his conditioning's like and going from there. But my game plan is pretty solid, and I feel pretty confident with it, and I'm gonna go in there and just beat him up. I'm not gonna. This is our third fight, and I'm sure the last of the fights with Vitor, and I want to make sure that I come out on top. It's to me it was kind of weird that they're bringing this one back. I mean, the first time you guys fought was in like 2006, right? Yeah, 2006 at Pride 32, and then you fight again. You win that one, obviously, and then you lose to him at UFC Fight Night 32, and now you're going to fight him again. It's like I understand the rematch mentality, but what is the purpose of this fight being brought together? Like, what do you think the UFC's or what was your mentality when they called you and said, "Hey, we want you to fight Vitor for the third time"?
I actually asked. I don't usually ask for fights, but I asked for this one. I wanted to. I got caught last time. I made a mistake and kind of paused in a position that I shouldn't have. Kind of got stuck in and paid the price and and that was in Brazil and drug testing's a little different now and I'm hoping with everything going on I just wanted to make sure that I finished the trilogy and beat his ass this time.
So, do you think Vitor is going to be any different than he has been the last few times you fought? Because really, if you look at the first two fights, he basically was the same opponent. Like nothing has really changed with him as far as technique wise. Even though it's been a longer break, he just got more powerful. He got quicker and he got stronger. But he did the same stuff. Do you think he's going to do anything differently for this fight?
Well, the when I fought him was a while ago, and he didn't kick that much back then, and Yeah, he had fast hands. He didn't hit me with anything really, and he was fairly easy to take down. He's a better fighter now than he was. As am I, and I think that overall, I'm gonna handle him in every aspect of MMA.
What happens when you beat Vitor? What do you think the UFC is going to do with you next? Is it going to be another high profile? It's a pretty high profile fight in comparison to a lot of the other names that you could have asked for or they could have thrown at you. Is it going to be another high profile fight for you, or is it going to be, they're gonna kind of regulate you to the, I don't want to say the not the back burner, but to the afterthought, when it comes to the big shows.
Yeah, I don't know. He's one of the top ranked guys right now still, and I've dropped off a little bit, and just had a bad couple of years, but I feel great now, and you know had a little bit of bad luck, but who knows? I don't really even care beyond this fight. I'm still going to be fighting, and I haven't even thought about it, not one bit. So I'm making sure that I beat Vitor up, and who knows what'll happen, and I'm not real concerned about it. I just want to make sure that I win this fight and the one following, and that's all I have left on my contract, and we'll see what happens. I'm not positive how much longer I'll be fighting, but definitely two more.
For sure, two more. Maybe I'm going to see you. Would you move to a different organization if the UFC didn't want to renew your contract?
I don't know. It all depends on if I want to continue to fight or not, and you know, I have in the past, but I'd rather not. I feel right at home here with the UFC, but it all depends on how everything unfolds this next couple fights.
How quick after this fight, November 7th, are you going to turn around and try and fight again? Wait until it's going to be a year we're going to see you, or is it going to be 6 months?
I'd like to fight again in March, probably. About 4 months. So what's that? Yeah, I'd like to get back in there in March, and if I decide to fight after that, probably early summer again, and take the summer off.
And go hunting.
Yeah.
That's Dan Henderson getting ready to fight Vitor Belfort coming up here November 7th, UFC Fight Night 77. Dan, thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate it. And we'll talk again after train camp's done.
No worries. Have a good one.